So it looks like this is going to be yet another uneventful week for Anthem, with nothing new being planned in terms of updates for this week. BioWare even confirmed this on Monday, and now our initial speculations about the game holding off new content until E3 next month is kinda holding true. It was even recently confirmed by IGN that Anthem is going to be a presence at E3, and that is no longer just a rumor but a well-known fact. And I even have a list you can check. It's a list of confirmed and rumored games on their website, so you can follow the links down below if you want to. But as you would expect, most of EA's biggest titles are going to be there as well, such as Apex Legends and Battlefield 5, so not just Anthem. And at least in the case of the first two games, that's not really a surprise because EA already announced that during their 2019 earnings call, so take it as you will. But of course, that does mean that for this week we're not going to see too much in terms of updates. It doesn't mean that the whole month of May will see nothing new. It's certainly not out of the ordinary for BioWare to drop new updates in the last week of the month, as they are kinda struggling to keep up with their very own roadmap. But with the lack of content also comes in leaks and rumors, and according to some very recent rumors, Anthem going free to play might very well still be an option both for BioWare and EA, and they are still allegedly taking this into account, especially now that it's clear that the game underperformed. So let's go over this, let's dive right into it, whatever you want to call it, a leak or a rumor, because it definitely stirred some controversy within the community right now, at least for a little bit. I'm also going to give you a few reasons why I think this is completely fake, but yeah, let's dive right into it. So the alleged leak makes a few bold statements and some other ridiculous ones, and even very obvious ones that probably anyone who played Anthem even for 1 minute would know of, but you know what, I'm gonna play along for the heck of it. So the leak starts with a very vague statement that this information is coming from a source within EA. It could be anyone, it could be the CEO, the janitor, we don't really know who it is. Funny enough, it's not from BioWare, which is pretty much leaking everything, but you know what, let's just move on. It seems that Anthem is coming to EA Access following its release on PS4. Now the thing about this information is neither EA Access being on the PS4 nor Anthem being a part in it is of any surprise. EA already made a public announcement some time ago on bringing their subscription-based service to this console quite some time ago, so this is really no new information, and of course Anthem is going to be a part of it. Why wouldn't it be? Pretty much all of the EA big titles are a part of their Access service, so if it's Origin Access, EA Access, Origin Premier, whatever it is, all of their games lineup is a part of that, and Anthem being a part of EA Access on the PS4 is of no surprise at all. It's really nothing new under the sun, so this is nothing new in terms of leaks. Moving on though to some other points, it seems that BioWare's leadership is actually blaming their customers on all of the recent hate, and even more so on why the game performed so poorly in terms of sales. Now I wouldn't immediately exclude the possibility for some of the BioWare or EA higher-ups to come up with an excuse like this to justify the company's screw-ups, especially after all that happened with the game's development, but I don't think anyone in their right mind right now at the company actually thinks that after 7 years of development hell, not when BioWare publicly admitted that they have some major internal problems following Jason Schreier's expose, or when they already acknowledged many times in the past that they're not able to keep up with their very own updates, and they already know that their fans are not pleased with what they're doing with Anthem. But with that being said, I'm still going to give this statement the benefit of the doubt. We're talking here about an entire company with a lot of people in it, so it's not just the opinion of one single person. Somebody at EA or BioWare might very well be blaming the customers for the problems that the game has, but I don't think that is as generalized as this leak is making it out to be. I don't think anyone in their right mind actually think this is anyone but BioWare's fault on the current state of the game. Anyway, what I do find odd is the next statement about BioWare also blaming EA for some reason for them saying that the game can be patched later because the game as a service model is a thing. So this makes absolutely no sense to me, so let me get this straight. EA has all of the interest in the world to see new updates for Anthem, and they even announced that during their earnings call, and I quote, they are heavily investing in the game. So I don't think that really makes any sense when they're doing an earnings call about the very fact. On the other hand, that doesn't really stop BioWare to actually update the game themselves. It's like a dad telling his kid he can eat later, but the kid himself can just go and grab some food from the fridge or make some for himself. And if EA was indeed so relaxed on updating Anthem, why did they even make an entire panel at the biggest gaming conference of this year? Anyway, from here on, the leak becomes even more ridiculous, to the point it kinda contradicts itself in the same paragraph or brings downright false information. Like Anthem, for example, selling pretty well at almost 3.7 million copies, when we know for a fact that Anthem underperformed by all metrics. Then the statement about BioWare working like mad on new content, which by the way we already knew, as there's data mines about Cataclysms and the company's statements on that, on top of the presence at E3, which again they wouldn't be a part of if they didn't have something to announce. But this statement on working hard on new updates directly contradicts the previous one about EA saying that the game can be patched later. Also, the stat screens being in the works is something we knew for a very long time, at least a couple of months, as BioWare's own developers announced that on numerous occasions. There's many live streams out there that point that out, and we know that for a fact. And even the recent changes in the UI are kinda like bare bones going towards that idea of having a stat screen, so this is nothing new under the sun at all. The one and only interesting bit in this is the free-to-play mention, which does have some validity, but not because of this leak itself, rather because it's kinda common sense. A full-priced live game going free-to-play following a disastrous launch is nothing new, and this info comes to nobody's surprise. On the other hand, other live games in EA's lineup had it just as bad as Anthem right now, but I don't ever recall any of their AAA big titles going free-to-play even when the hate was at its peak. If anything, EA always doubled down because, let's be honest here, they do love taking money up front rather than hoping players would spend money on microtransactions in a game that barely made anything from them to begin with. Many might not know this, but Anthem's microtransactions failed big time and barely made EA any money. Most of its revenue came from the actual purchase of the game, and the revenue report leaked from a few months ago only revealed how disastrous is Anthem and BioWare at making people spend money on their skin shop. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that the idea is off the table and the game will never go free to play. They could always bring some expert from EA, I'm sure of it, so they could always change that around. But the sad reality is that in its current state, nobody wants to spend any additional money on Anthem's microtransactions because there's not really much in it to begin with. To go free to play, BioWare would have to completely redesign the entire microtransaction system in it from the ground up, and on top of that to also create a ton more enticing cosmetics to even attract players' interest, which according to the same leak they wouldn't even be able to do that because, I quote, they are working like mad on new content and bug fixes. And as hated as EA is nowadays, even they are now finally realizing that the old ways of releasing games is not working anymore for them. If Anthem will ever go free to play, it will be just like its update cycle up until now, only after an agonizingly long wait that might very well put an end to BioWare as we know it. But anyway, going back to something a little bit more than just speculations, over the past few updates Anthem has received a lot of behind the scenes changes to get it ready for the upcoming Cataclysm event, whenever that will be. And it's not just that, but also a ton of new items, possibly even story content following the recording sessions some actors working on Anthem had a couple of months back. But for Cataclysms, while I'm not an expert on data mining, it looks like it's going to be a multi-phase event, with each phase becoming more intense, and there's some significance to the center of it once more, like vortex being mentioned and all of that, so the effects over the environment might very well be more intense than what we've seen so far, maybe something closer to the vision we saw in the initial E3 demo, and I think that would be really awesome. And that's one of the things that I really liked about that E3 demo, even though it was fully fake. And yeah, unfortunately this kind of big updates do take some time, which is why we're seeing this kind of speculation, though I would rather see it being released in a more silent and humble way from BioWare. I'm not really sure if Anthem's presence at E3 makes any sense at this point. Like, I don't think seeing them on stage making more promises will make anyone excited anymore, not after all that has transpired in the past few months. Instead, what they could do is do a quiet release of a proper update, which would also be a great exercise of humility on their part. Finally, we'll also have a new story reset, and this week brings some new items. Of course, no new armors, but there's a couple of new wraps in there. One of them is called Mission Critical and the other one is called Love Hurts. There's also a couple of emotes, Jazz Hands and Cool Spin, and finally a vinyl and a fabric geometric stars. So again, no new armors, and this is why microtransactions in Anthem are always going to fail. Nobody wants to buy anything of this. They're a little bit too expensive, it's not really worth it, and they would need a complete redesign, which would not be an easy task. But anyway, that is all for today. Tell me what you think about the possibility for Anthem to go free to play. Would you even want to play it in that state, or would you rather have BioWare continue delivering free updates as they have promised for so long and so many times in the past? Comment down below, and in the meantime, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys later, so peace out.